find it necessary to use this public forum to read a prepared statement. I'd like to address a couple of issues that have been brought to the forefront recently. First, it has been suggested that I and others knew of the alleged deletion of town files. I would like to dispel that notion by saying that I had no knowledge of the alleged action until it was brought out in the public. I do not condone the deletion of files that are required by law to be preserved for any following elected officials. I will work with the town board to make sure that procedures are in place to assure the law is followed by all elected officials in the future.
I will say as well to the public that this town board had nothing to do with any deletion of files. There was no mass deletion by Chris or Ray or Beth or Mike or me or myself. There was, during the transition, apparently some files deleted. Now, is that the worst thing that happened in the history of the world? No. Was it maybe a mistake or some confusion? I can only speculate. But for sure, none of these people had anything to do with it, and people should not be confused by that. What we're talking about is the emptying of one folder on one computer that was connected to a server. This is not like people were going through and burning hard drives and throwing computers out the window, et cetera, et cetera. I don't want to sweep it under the rug, but I also want the facts to be clear of what actually occurred, so there's not an overreaction.
Ray mentioned, as Nate mentioned, that the deletion of those documents appear to be very bad behavior. I believe everything that we know of has been recovered. So actual documents, we don't believe at this point, or we have no evidence that anything's actually been lost, but it was bad behavior. As a result of that activity, we will be looking at creating a policy to prevent that and hold us electeds accountable that during transition, there should be a certain expectation of retention of documents and files. So we will be working on a policy or a process or a code or whatever you want to call it to ensure that we're on notice that we have to follow that as a process.
I want to second some of the things that was said here tonight about the deleted files. We talked about getting the files back. I talked to the IT fellow today, and the files are backed up on an hourly basis. So we are pretty confident that all the files that were deleted were gotten back. I'm all for, I'm liaison to the Cable and Communication Board, so a lot of this falls into their laps as far as working on putting a technical governance together, or policy that will help us keep our files more secure, and just have policy so everyone knows what when they put something on a government computer, that it belongs to the government.
I know you want to get home. I want to say one more thing about the file thing too. You know, you brought up a good point. I think the public should hear this. We restored the files. And law is often about bringing things to an equilibrium or to a balance. It's not about windfalls in one direction or the other. You often hear the phrase, the punishment fits the crime. Well, the crime is often based on how much damage is caused. If the damage is severe, if you kill somebody, the punishment is severe because you can't restore that. When you can't restore things, there's a serious damage, usually there's more serious consequences. Here, I do think there's a mitigating factor that we were able to save and restore this. I'm not sure if whoever did the original deletion understood that, but I think that should be taken into account, that the actual damage to the town is very minor because we have a good IT team and a system that backs things up. So I want to just state that. I think that plays a lot into how I'm viewing this. Do I think it was nasty? Again, maybe? Or do I think it was an accident? Who knows? I don't know. I can only speculate. But do I think it's caused irreparable harm to Grand Island that we should all be outraged about? I do not.